what's going on, new mice? Want to bring you guys a PieCoin update from the outdoor patio. The PieCore team actually just released a couple of articles a few days ago on March 21st. I think a lot of people missed these, so I'm just going to read over them real quickly. First one is a little bit shorter. It's more for devs, but I still think it's good information to know. The second article is a little more applicable to everyday people, but I still think both are interesting and worth a read over. If you guys appreciate this content, of course, like it, drop a comment down below, subscribe. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. The first article by the Pi Network, like I said, these are dropped on March 21st, 2025. The first one is about, both of these are about the .pi domains, but this one is titled .pi domain reservation for compliant Pi community apps that completed PiNet migration. The article starts to say, as part of the .pi domain auction process, Pi wants to ensure that compliant Pi community apps that have completed PiNet migration can secure their domains without bidding. This aligns with the previously announced PiNet migration process and the 2024 Pi Day communications. If your Pi app completed PiNet domain migration and integration previously and complies with the ecosystem listing guidelines, your corresponding .pi domain is reserved for you and will not be included in the auction. Some/new developers may have missed the initial PiNet migration opportunity despite multiple communications throughout 2023 and 2024. Boom, roasted. To address this, Pi is offering a grace period until May 28th for eligible Pi apps that are on the ecosystem listing to complete their PiNet integration and secure their .pi domain. So May 28th, if you are a dev that's built on Pi in the past, built an app. To have your app's .pi domain reserved and removed from auction, you must fully complete PiNet integration and comply with the ecosystem listing guidelines by May 28th. Both requirements must be met before the deadline. Here's the next steps for developers. Check if your app is already integrated with the PiNet. If you've completed PiNet migration, no further action is needed. Your domain is reserved. If your Pi app has not yet integrated with PiNet, complete your PiNet integration by May 28th to secure your domain. You can find the PiNet setup guideline here on PiNet Developer Guide. I'm not going to read over that right now. If you choose not to migrate to PiNet, your domain will remain in the auction and will not be automatically reserved. If you have any instructions or need assistance, please reach out. Pi appreciates your contribution to the Pi ecosystem and looks forward to seeing your continued innovation. This is the last part of this article. They go over step-by-step instructions for developers. The instructions are 5 steps. The first step is register your PiNet URL. First, you must register your PiNet URL within the Pi developer portal. The field for this is found on the PiNet settings page of the app dashboard. Upon clicking on this page, you must first register the URL. 2. Choose display preferences. Select how a user should see the application. The options are full screen or mobile screen. Should a developer select the checkbox or full screen, then a user who opens the application on a desktop browser will see the app stretch to make up the full window. 3. Understand and append the URL security feature. The initial URL will have a random string of characters append to the URL. This is a security feature to prevent impersonation or domain squatting. Quality Pi applications at the PieCore team's discretion can be given plain URLs that do not have the unique string append to them. Sorry if I'm saying that word wrong. Number 4, confirm URL creation. Once registered for the URL, then the application should become available at the PiNet URL displayed on your app dashboard. This is not the end, however. 5. Optimize your application for PiNet use. It is best practice for the application to be optimized for PiNet use, and developers should work on updating their user flow in order to give non-pioneers the opportunity to experience as much of the application as possible. So essentially, guys, this article is really a lot for devs, goes over the extension deadline for you guys. If you've built anything on PiNet, they have extended the application process for you to register your .pi domain until May 28th. So if you haven't done that yet, you've been building on Pi, make sure you guys go ahead and get that done. I'm going to move on to the second article. Like I said, it's a little more applicable to the everyday person, and I think more of us will be interested in it. They also go over a lot of cool statistics so far for the .pi domains. I think a lot of people missed out on this or aren't paying attention to these. This article is also by the Pi Network team. It's from March 21st, 2025, and the article title is .pi domain auctions, stats, more details, and FAQs. We'll go ahead and get into it. The .pi domain auction is a step forward in expanding the Pi ecosystem with strong participation from pioneers, businesses, and developers. As a platform-level utility, the domain auctions harnesses the collective resources of the Pi community and open networks, external connectivity to further Pi's role in real-world commerce and digital interactions. With over 100,000 bids placed in less than a week, the auction is driving real engagement and reinforcing Pi's role as a functional, utility-backed currency for all pioneers. The demand for .pi domains highlights the growing ecosystem of Pi-powered apps, businesses, and online services, all leveraging blockchain-based domain ownership for branding, accessibility, and commerce. Here are some key stats so far with only pioneers on the mainnet who could bid. Same thing. Over 200,000 bids have been placed. Interesting. I think right above they say 100,000. 100,000 within a week. I guess 200,000 bids total. Over 40,000 unique bidders. Over 95,000 domains with active bids. Over 2.9 million Pi in active bids in the auction. That's, I guess, around $2.9 million at the time of recording. And the highest current bid is about 30,000 Pi. I've seen some people talking about recently. Go ahead and read the Pi Day announcement or watch my video where I go over that for more details on .pi domains. You'll also see why the price of Pi is fluctuating so much and why the circulating supply is going down and fluctuating so much. In this blog, Pi is releasing a new domains auction policy document along with answers to some frequently asked questions from the community and clarifying the rules for pioneers and businesses who participate and who may need additional details. Really, this article is mostly FAQs, but there's an external link here that you could click if you wanted to. Again, this is mindpi.com/blog/pi-domains-FAQs. And here's a hyperlink if you want to check out more information about compliance, trademarks, rights, and more. But this article is mostly the frequently asked questions, general use and functionality FAQs. Here we go. How does a .pi domain compare to a Web2 traditional domain website? .pi domains function similarly to traditional domains, acting as a unique digital identifiers within the Pi ecosystem. They enable businesses, apps, and individuals to establish a clear online identity or digital storefront in a Web3 social network, and its acquisition, transfers, and part of its operations rely heavily on Pi blockchain. Interesting. Will .pi domains work outside of the Pi browser? The extension of .pi domains will work inside the Pi browser, and other wallets and browsers may integrate with this feature over time, similar to how other crypto domains work. For compatibility with legacy browsers like Chrome and Safari, all .pi domains will also work through the extension .pinet.com. So if your domain is joe.pi, on Pi browser or compatible third-party services, people can also find you as joe.pinet.com through any browser, or for normies. There is no guarantee or promise that .pi domains will be adopted by legacy browsers. Can I bid my username as a domain? Yes, if it's available. Where do the proceeds from the domain sales go? All Pi received from selling the .pi domains will be used to support Pi ecosystem, including developer programs and events. Domain reservations for PiNet apps. Here we go, a little more specific about reservations. Can developers that have already built Pi apps reserve domains? We know the answer to this. We just read the article. Pi community apps that have complied with ecosystem listing guidelines and completed PiNet migration by May 28, 2025 can secure their domains without bidding, with certain requirements and restrictions. Read the blog on this topic to learn more, or skip or rewind to the beginning of this video. Bidding and auction process. Can I bid on multiple domains at the same time? Yes, you can place bids on multiple domains simultaneously. Next, can I cancel or change my bid after placing it? Yes, for pioneers, if you place a bid using the claimable balance feature, you can withdraw at any time before the auction ends. However, if you place a bid via the standard payment through multiplex wallet addresses because you're not yet a pioneer, example from an exchange, refunds will be processed after the auction concludes on June 28th, 2025. What happens if someone bids at the last minute? All auctions are scheduled to end on June 28th, 2025. However, if a new bid is placed or the winning bid is lowered or removed on the domain within the final 24 hours of that domain's auction window, the specific auction will automatically be extended by 24 hours. Auction rules, including this rule, are subject to change by the company in its sole discretion. If I win a domain auction, when do I receive ownership? Winners gain ownership immediately after the auction ends, and the domain will be subject to a potential future yearly registration and maintenance fee, similarly to and on the same scale as that of traditional internet domain fees. Interesting. How do I retrieve the domains I own after the auction? At the end of the auction, people will be able to see the list of domains they successfully purchased listed in the domain auction page or app. The domain ownership will be associated with the bidding wallet address. Can the rules of bidding and auction change? Yes, the company reserves the right to change or modify these rules at any time in its sole and absolute discretion, with or without notice to participants. For instance, the auction currently allows pioneers to withdraw bids anytime, providing the maximum flexibility. However, if in practice this proves ineffective, it might be prudent to move forward toward a system with more binding bids that cannot be withdrawn before the auction concludes to prevent exploits and ensure fairness. Ownership, transfer, and renewals, FAQs. Can I resell or transfer my .pi domains in the future? Yes. .pi domains follow standard domain ownership practices, allowing for resale or transfers to others. The use of domains will be independently bound by any applicable laws and regulations such as trademarks and copyrights. What happens if I don't renew my .pi domain after initial ownership period? If you do not renew your .pi domain, it will eventually become available for others to register, similar to standard domain expirations in Web 2. This FAQ will evolve as more pioneers engage with .pi domains. If you have further questions, visit domains.pi or domains.pinet.com through the Pi browser to explore participation in the auction, or to also participate in the auction. So guys, that's been it for this video. Mostly this was the second part, or the second article was mostly for people who have FAQs or frequently asked questions about the actual .pi domains. Mostly, I think the important parts here are this is going to keep going until June 28th, 2025 is an important deadline. You'll have 24 hours at that point to re-up or review. If somebody bids in the last 24 hours, it's going to keep going forever. If nobody bids in the 24 hours before June 28th, 2025, then you'll own that .pi domain. I think another important part of this was that if you own a business or you've been building on Pi, make sure you go ahead and go through the actual developer settings or the developer part of the website so that you can claim your website .pi domain without having to bid on it. I think that's very important for people to understand, especially I see a lot of people talking about Amazon or Amazon.pi or this or that. I think it's important to understand that Amazon, probably a lot of these businesses are going to have legal rights to their .pi domains. They'll probably just give it to them. So whoever's bidding that 30,000 pi, I don't know who that is, but they really want that domain. Again, some important highlights: 200,000 bids placed, 40,000 unique bidders, over 95,000 domains with active bids, 2.9 million pi in active bids in the auction. Guys, that's been it from me. It's Joe from New Money Crypto. There's smart money, dumb money, old money, and years from now they'll be calling you new money. Until then, guys, I'll catch y'all on a video soon. Much love. Peace.